with talk, music, weather, and traffic for Montgomery County. Have a question or comment about one of our shows? Want to know how to reach a host? Just contact the station at irlonestar.com or call in and leave a message at 936-647-3776. Get involved with your community with Lone Star Community Radio.
Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC-LP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Everybody, you're listening to the Cindy Cochran Show, or you're watching it on YouTube or on Facebook live. And if you're not doing that, then you're listening to it on 106.1 or 104.5 on the radio. As you're driving between New Waverly and the Woodlands, you're hearing us on that. And so I am so excited because I've been after this person, and I thought she was just ignoring me, but she wasn't. She wasn't getting the note. But Jessica, we love you anyway, so it's okay. So tell her I did a shout out on it.
Yes, I will, absolutely.
No, but anyway, I thank you, Linda Quiroz.
Oh, perfect. That's not perfect.
Perfect?
Yes, that's good.
Oh, my word. I thought the only Spanish word I was going to know was moco. But now I can say
Quiroz.
Quiroz. Do you remember Elma Barrera? Do you have any memory of her?
Could.
Well, she was a reporter on Channel 13.
Okay.
And I was working on there, and I was interpreting the news for the deaf next to her.
Right.
And she would always roll her R's so dramatically. It wasn't like Elma Barrera. She'd go, Elma Barrera.
Yes.
And so I started, this is the letter R. So when she'd do it, I'd go, so this is Elma Barrera. And the deaf people said, why do you roll your R's? He said, because she's rolling her R's. And that's... well,
that's also how you can pinpoint if somebody's Spanish is good or not. If it's good Spanish. So when the way they roll their R's.
Right.
That's what the native Spanish. Yes.
Yeah. She told me, she said, listen, I've got to roll my R's because that shows my Spanish heritage and all. And so I said, yeah, but you do it so long. I know there's not that many R's in your name.
But you're like, I got to accentuate the R.
She would do really cute things like.
That's so funny.
She knew I didn't know Spanish.
Right.
So she was going along with the news, and then all of a sudden she stopped and go, now I'm going to say this for my Spanish-speaking viewers about this hurricane that was coming in town. And she started saying in Spanish, and I keep signing, and I'm telling the deaf people, Elma thinks this is really funny because she knows I don't know Spanish. But because I keep signing and no one else knows the sign language except you guys,
it's going to look like you're saying what you're saying in Spanish.
So after it was over, she said, Cindy, I didn't know you knew Spanish. And I was like, hey.
You got to roll with it. You got to roll with it. Yes.
So, but listen, Linda, I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you. Linda, I'm happy to be here.
You're the outreach education manager?
Yes,
at
the Montgomery County Women's Center. Mm-hmm.
Okay, for the Montgomery County Women's Center. And I found out it was pretty close to where we are right now.
Yes, we're maybe like 2 to 3 minutes from here. Yeah.
Excellent.
Close.
And I knew that there had to be a women's center somewhere around. I knew that. So I started looking. And I found you guys, and I got to talk to you, and I went, I can't wait to have you on because all the things that you guys are in charge of and do and help the women here and around this.
Right.
And plus, we had someone on just the other day, and he provided security, and sometimes y'all have security there just in case some women are, the husbands are mad or boyfriends are mad or something, and you want to protect them. I thought that was That was fantastic. And he said, "Yep, yes, that's what we were doing, is to make them feel safe."
Right.
And I said, "Well, that's what's I have loved living in Montgomery County because it has a much better feel than I was getting in other places that we were living, and you felt safer."
Right.
And right now, in today's age, that's what people are looking for. That's one of the things is feeling safe. So tell me some of the things that you guys are providing for women that and why they would call you.
Absolutely. So Montgomery County Women's Center has been around for over 40 years. We used to not always be known as Montgomery County Women's Center. Our name, I believe, was maybe like rape crisis of Montgomery County. And actually, we started as a kind of like a how do I say it, like an outlet of a Houston area women's center. So Houston area women's center is located in Houston, Harris County, and they wanted to expand services more to our county. And so they kind of made like a satellite, would you say? And then we kind of became our own. So from the history, I think we started with 6 employees. Now we're not that big, but we probably have more than 60 employees now. But we are nonprofit, and all the services that we provide are completely free to anybody. So we provide services to victims of domestic violence and sexual abuse. All the services, like I said, are completely free to them, and we have a variety of services. We've been around for that long, but still there's people in the community who don't know about us.
Right.
Yes,
That's why we want you here and to talk about it. But I'm so sorry. If you have someone that's coming to you and you have to provide not only the physical but the emotional and all that along with it, are you set up? Do y'all have a medical wing or something to your...
Oh, I wish it would make things easier, because it'll be just like a one-stop shop for them.
Right.
But how we provide is, I always like to talk about our hotline. We have a 24/7 hotline.
Right.
And that 24/7 hotline is kind of like a gateway into our services. Just because that hotline operates daily, 24/7, but you will actually get a person who answers. You won't get like a press 1 for this, press 2 for this.
Brother.
You will get somebody who will answer the phone.
Great.
Yes. And the greatest thing is that even if, let's say, you are not a victim, maybe you are a friend of somebody who is, or you're a teacher at a school, or you're just a community member who wants to know more about resources around the area, that hotline is available to everybody and anybody. You call and you say, "Hi, I would like to donate. Hi, I have a friend who is going through something. What can I say? How can I safety plan with her? What resources do you guys have?" And we can provide you. I mean, even if you call us at 2 a.m. and say, "This is what I've been thinking about, and I have somebody that needs the help,"
Sure.
we can provide that for you. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be the survivor or the victim. You can be a friend, family member, concerned community member. I mean, just anybody who is really wanting to reach out to services. So
that's amazing.
So even if you, let's say that you have somebody who is not a victim of either or, we can direct you in the place that it is, right? So like if you are a human trafficking survivor, or like you're facing homelessness, you want to know maybe where there is food markets around here, mobile food markets around here that you can go and get food for free. We can direct you to where to go for that through our hotline, even if it's not for our services.
So do the churches contact you, or do you contact the churches and ask for if they can... Is there anything that they can do to help, or would they be available?
Vice versa. Vice versa. So we try to always consistently connect with community partners, with churches, just to kind of see what's going on. So like myself, I'm part of a couple of coalitions. We have a family and community coalition in Montgomery County, and it's people from all over the area. I mean, we have people from Tri-County, we have people from us, we have people from the Montgomery County Hospital District, and we all just connect to better serve the population. You know, what services can we provide to each other, and say, okay, I have this client who needs housing, who needs maybe childcare, who needs to find a job. Oh, perfect. Okay, they can go here for financial help. They can go here for the housing. They can go here to get free food. They can go here to get clothing. And so when you connect with your community members, because not one single agency can do everything. If we could, we wouldn't need anybody else, right?
Right.
But we consistently depend on our community partners on how can we get the word out on how can we best help somebody when not one community partner can do it all. But we connect consistently. We reach out to them, they reach out to us, and we try to keep it going and keep our lists updated of, like, for example, if a place got a new shelter, if they have beds available, then we know, okay, if they're looking for shelter for us and we don't have space, okay, well, Houston Area Women's Center has space right now, go ahead and call them. Or Family Promise has space right now, go ahead and call them. So we'll be able to direct them because we'll consistently communicate with other community agencies to know what services are out there for people.
Have you thought about running for president?
No.
Because, this is what they kept, when 9/11 happened.
Right.
They started finding out how many of these agencies weren't talking to each other.
Correct.
And they weren't communicating with each other. And that's the largest problem that they had, and that's what you guys have solved.
Yes.
Is that y'all are all partnering together and creating this great resource for, for all the women. And when the tragic thing especially is, well, I mean, it's tragic what happens to the women and all.
Right.
But the children are the ones
absolutely.
that do y'all bring children in with them and have, how's it set up for the children?
So we, on top of our 24-hour hotline, we have a shelter. Our shelter also operates 24/7. It is in a non-disclosed location. We house up to 75 people at a time. Our shelter houses men, women, and children. So we're one of the few that does house men as well. We will, in instances, also house human trafficking survivors. But children, all the time, we do. They come in with the victims, with moms, or if the father is the victim, then they will come in with them. Same services are provided to them, to the children as well. So if, let's say, mom wants counseling for the kiddos, then we can provide that counseling for them. If mom wants to go to support groups, then we have a children coordinator on staff who can take care of the children while mom is going to support groups or doing financial coaching or doing everything that she has to do to kind of get her life back on track.
Right.
But we provide that in the shelter for them. They're allowed to stay at our shelter for up to 30 days. While they stay there, we provide them food, we provide them clothing, we provide them with all the services so they don't really have to leave. Now, 30 days is not a lot, right? 30 days, I don't think somebody can find an apartment in 30 days or find a job in 30 days or get a car in 30 days. I mean, it takes 30 days to approve you for something sometimes, right? So this is why we call it our crisis shelter. We want to get you out of that immediate danger, but we also want to know, okay, what can we do in these next 30 days to help you live a violence-free life, right?
Yes.
And sometimes that depends on also the client, the victim. Sometimes we do get a lot of them who go back, and that is a statistic that we see, some victims of domestic violence leave a relationship at least 7 times before they leave for good.
Oh my word.
And sometimes they don't end up leaving, and sometimes when they don't leave, or even if they still leave, they end up being killed by the partner. So those are things that we see, and it's unfortunate, but we want them to know that we are here for them no matter what.
Right.
We're here for them to support them no matter what.
That has to be so frustrating because you see the patterns and you see that, and you know what's going to happen in the sense that it normally does happen like this, and you can't stop it.
Right.
Legally, hold her in there. So
Yes,
you can't
I know.
go back.
I know.
And that, the psychological impact that someone who's doing violence to someone else
absolutely
is so strange to try and figure out how the brain makes that person a hero in the sense that, they want to cling to that person who's hurting them.
Yes.
And if somebody can break that cycle, that would be like
and I think
amazing.
it brings back to the question of I get a lot of people who, from the outside in, when you're not the one who going through it, they say, well, why don't you just leave,
Oh,
leave.
sure.
Why don't you
sure.
leave? I would never put up with something like that. Or, if somebody was to put their hands on me, I would have left the next day, right?
Yes.
It's
That's
easier
real brave
said
to
than
say.
done.
Yes.
Yeah, it's easier than said than done. And I just think that when we pose a question like that of why don't you just leave, you're placing blame on the victim. You're placing the blame on
That's so
it's
true.
your fault that the abuse is happening. And then if you're a part of that, then how are they going to get out when they feel like they're not supported, right? And so it takes people behind them, support, the community, because a lot of the times we get victims who are cut off from their support groups because of the abuser wants to isolate them.
Yes.
They isolate them. They don't want any interaction with friends, family. They don't let them work, so they won't have less interaction. So
Yes.
I mean, if you're isolated, who are you going to reach out to? Who are
Right.
you going to reach out to for support if you don't have that? And so
For the-
it makes it harder for them to leave.
And it shows how brave they are to
Oh,
make that
absolutely.
first step to come to you.
Yes.
To get out of that. And usually it's, especially for the children, they don't want the children to do that. And the kids may save their lives.
Yes.
But they go back because they have
There's a
nothing
lot
else.
of reasons. Mm-hmm.
And they feel like,
Yep.
I can't do this on my own.
Yes.
And so, so he beats me a bit. I'll just
Yeah.
take it and then that'll be fine. But it's something that they get used to. I think that's what is the scariest, and to try and break that from
Yes.
the women. Do you have group meetings with the women and then you have a counselor with them?
Yeah, so we provided the counseling on site, and we so that they don't have to go. Like if they need legal services, counseling, support groups, we try to bring all of them on site at the shelter for them to have that there. Now we can't force them to go. We have case
Right.
management. It's an option for them, and so not all of them will make the choice of going, which is okay. Because sometimes we'll get people it's their first time leaving, and so we'll know that. Give or take, maybe they will
Right.
leave for good, or maybe they will go back, right? And so I always tell people, if you want to do this kind of work, you have to, one, be passionate, but two, also understand that if you are looking for closure, if you're looking for satisfaction, this ain't it. Because you will work with a client for six months to a year, and then they'll tell you, you know what, I think we can make it work. I think this person will get better. This person is doing this. This person is doing that. I want us to be a family, so they go back. And all that hard work we put in with them to empower them, to give them those choices, you have to be okay with it. You can't, as much as like kind of how you said, you want to literally grab them and pull them out of that, but you can't. And that's a form of empowerment, giving them the choices. And if they come back and they say, you know what, I want to try this all over again, then guess what? I will be here for you again. And we're going to try this all over again, because that's what it's about. That's what it's about.
Well, I wonder if we, because I'm so much older than you are, and the women, I kind of went through the 50s and the
Yes.
60s and the 70s and all that, and so there's been a lot of changes the way
Absolutely.
women think about themselves or what they think
Yes.
about others and all that stuff. So I think that women a lot of times feel like, well, this guy is so great. I mean,
Yeah.
he has these little quirks and stuff, but
Yeah.
I'm going to marry him anyway because I know I can change him.
Yes.
And
yes.
that has been the downfall
that's
of
a big one, yeah.
everybody that thinks that.
Yes.
And they may change him, but it may be for the worse because they become so annoying, and the guy can't, had that tempered there already, and now you're going to have to put up with that.
And I have heard a lot of survivors say that, I think that they stay because they feel like they can change the person. It's like they can fix them.
Yes.
Women want to fix things. We want to fix
yes.
things all the time. So we're like, I can fix you, right? Like I can fix this. So I
Right.
think it's that sense of like, I can change this person. They want to change for me, or they want to change for the family, or whoever the abuser is in this situation. The sad thing is that we can't change people, and I educate my clients all the time because I provide classes for them too. I tell them, as much as we want to change somebody, you cannot change someone. You can say, go to counseling, go to AA, go to rehab, go back to church, go and get anger management classes. But if you say go, and you make them go, they're doing it more because you're telling them, not because
Right. They're trying
they
to
see a
please you.
problem within themselves.
Yes.
So really, they will go, but there won't be a difference because they're not seeing anything wrong with themselves. And that's what we see, is that we feel like we can change someone, but we can't change people. They have to say, I don't like the way that I am. I don't like the way that I treat you. It's not okay for me to be drinking alcohol and then acting this way. Like, I obviously have a problem, so I have to change for the better. And that's where we have to distinguish that of. They
Well,
need to choose that themselves.
I think historically we can go all the way back to the beginning.
Oh, absolutely.
Adam and Eve. Eve goes in and the snake says, Tim
Yes.
says, all you got to do is just take this apple and,
And
you'll know
yeah.
everything. It'll be great. And so she does. And then she goes, I ought to bring Adam in on this. And so she gives this to Adam. Adam, you're going to be much smarter. You're going to be great. And then when God shows up, Adam throws her right under the bus. So men haven't changed a lot in a long time, and if that's their nature, you really do need to know that person. And a lot of people think and feel like, oh, I know them. I know who they are. In 5 minutes, I knew this is the one I wanted, and all that. And then you need to meet their family. You need to, their background and all, and how. And that's just that's hard to do because you're working with emotion that can't be.
Yes.
You can't even think about telling somebody that's not right, because like I have a granddaughter that's going to be 16, and so you start talking to him about how if a boyfriend wants to isolate you and doesn't want you hanging out with friends and doesn't want the family, then it's a flag, it's a red flag, and you have to think about that. But they go, oh no, but that's not, and then you realize I'm talking to the wall because they don't get it, and you just hate that they're going to have to be hurt by
and because we've lived a life longer than they have, so we feel like let's give them the education that they need, and they need to talk about it. But I think with children especially, I go into the high schools and middle schools, and I do education as well. So I do bullying, healthy relationships, dating violence, all that good stuff. And that's actually my favorite part of the job. So
that's great.
I love doing that because kids are so, oh my gosh, they have one, no filter. Two, they will talk about anything. I mean, and I love it because they create the conversation. I'm like, I want to hear your thoughts. As adults, we're like, no, I'm not going to say that, or we're shy, right? But kids are like, yeah, I saw this too, or like, yeah, I went through this too. And I'm like, well, tell me about it, and they talk about it, and creating the conversation makes this subject less taboo. And it makes people know that this happens. It happens all around us. It doesn't happen to a certain income level. It doesn't happen to a certain ethnicity. It doesn't matter where you live. The person sitting next to you could be going through something like this, and we don't even know. But because we have still some people who have the mentality of, it doesn't happen in my community, right? Or it doesn't happen here, right? Or not in this neighborhood. And I think when we think that way, it closes the doors for victims who want to speak out. And so with kids, I know for them, lingo changes. I'm not that much older than them, and I'm learning things every day, and I'm just like, what? This is a new word. I've never heard of this. Or I got called old for having Facebook, and I was like, oh, wow, okay. So they're like, miss, get with the program. I was like, okay. I will go and download TikTok then, so I got to keep up with them. But I mean, even like to me, I'll say this is abusive, this is unhealthy, this is controlling, and with teens and younger kiddos, I will hear them say the word toxic all the time. Oh, toxic this, toxic that. They have a toxic relationship, or they have toxic personalities, and I'm just like,
do you really know what that means?
And I have them compare it to. I'm like, okay, give me a list of what falls under toxic, and they'll say controlling. Maybe they try to tell you who to talk to. Maybe they go through your phone. Maybe they want you to share all your passwords. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. So now give me a list of what abuse may be. Oh, well, controlling. Maybe they tell you what to wear, who to talk to. I'm like, oh, interesting. I'm like, okay. So the lists are looking similar, right?
Yeah.
But what word sounds worse? And so they're like, abuse. And I'm like,
yes.
Are some of those tendencies that we call toxic abusive? They're like, yeah. I'm like, right. But because we glamorize this word, we say toxic like nothing, it's more acceptable for somebody to be toxic than abusive. And I'm like, no, we need to change that conversation. Absolutely, yes, use it, but also don't excuse the behavior. Because if you see it, call it out. Say something. Don't just say, hey, none of my business, right?
Right. I think that's so interesting. Yeah. My grandson is 18 and my granddaughter's 16. So I get this good variety of what they're going through and what they're so indoctrinated into TikTok and all that. Oh, yeah. And so I get on TikTok to see what it is. Mm-hmm. It's so disgusting. And some of the things are very disgusting. I still
have not downloaded TikTok.
Yeah.
I don't.
I don't want my name on that list.
Yes. No, I was like, I have not downloaded it. No.
But and I try to tell them, I said, now y'all need to listen to the news about where TikTok is coming from and what they could be doing to the kids and what, if you listen to
Snapchat and everything too.
Oh, brother. And so when the kids listen and have this thrown so much stuff at them that it normalizes things that shouldn't be normalized at all. And
I agree.
So you have to come in and break break that up,
Yeah.
and they think that you don't know what you're talking
Yes,
about.
they look at
Yes.
me like, "Who are you?" And I'm
Yeah,
just like,
to
"No,
tell
I'm
me.
saying this because I see this. I
Yeah.
see this happening. And they think, they live vicariously through their phone. Through
Sure.
social media. I mean, it's like,
Yes.
this is who I am. This is what I go through. This is my life. Like, I'm this great person. I'm like, really, social media is just like a fake self. It's a fake version of yourself. You always pick the best pictures. You're gonna pick the best group photos. You're never gonna put ones that you don't like. I mean, or you're never gonna really share something that is very personal about yourself. So really, people can get to know you through there.
Yeah.
And then
That's right.
now relationships more are focused on phones. Constantly calling each other, FaceTiming, texting. If you don't text me back, then this and that, or we got to share locations. And I'm just like, ah.
And what's so funny is
Yeah.
that, and so they send you something and it's all caps, and they think,
Yes.
oh, he's so mad at me. How do you know he's mad at you? Look, it's all caps.
Caps,
And I went,
yes.
Huh? That shows he's mad. Maybe he just was too lazy to take it off of the cap.
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Why would you think?
Yeah.
And I have seen, when the computers. Now I'm going to date myself. People send messages back and forth,
Right.
and communicate that way, and they stop talking on the phone so that you hear the different inflections in the voice.
Right.
Makes a big difference on what they're trying to tell you.
Yes.
And so it's the same thing with this. Their
The way it's-
conversation
yes.
is so bland, and then whenever whoever knows how to use the exclamation point or whatever, then they're the heroes of the thing.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
I think that you going in and just bringing it up to them is great. I
Yeah.
mean, because they don't want anybody to disturb their world
Oh,
at all.
absolutely.
They
And see, like growing up myself, I never got any conversations like that. Like nobody came to my school and talked about like what a healthy relationship should look like and all this stuff. So like when working with Montgomery County Women's Center, I started realizing like I saw all of these things happen in my school, in my community, and nobody said anything and nothing happened here. And then I thought like, wow, if I would have gotten this same education, this same awareness when I was that age, like maybe a lot of my friends would have made a lot of different decisions, or grown up
Yes.
differently or ended up in better situations, and can't go back in time and change it, right? Like what
No.
can you do with your voice? And I always say that people think, well, I'm just one person, but to me, I feel like if I go in and present to a group of 100 people, but that one person I was able to reach through them and let them know that they're supported and they'll help, by all means, I've done my job. Like I feel like I have done what I came here to do, because really all in all it's more of how can we create the conversation and break the stigma of it happens everywhere. Like this is not a taboo subject, and there is people out there who can help you if you are a victim or you had been a victim. There's people that we get who come in and the abuse happened 20 years ago, 30 years ago. They weren't ready. Now they're ready.
right.
They say, well, it just happened so long ago, I don't think I can get services. I'm like, no, a victim is a victim. I don't care how long it happened.
Right,
You
right.
are a survivor. You will be helped in any way that we can help you in our capacity. So there's no time limit. There is not a specific type of abuse. When people think domestic violence, we think physical, right?
Right.
We need to see somebody walking around with a black eye, an injured hand, or you have to have a mark or something. But really, it's all encompassing. I mean, financially abused can be one. Spiritually, I mean, religious. There's have been a lot of survivors who have been, they use scripture to justify the abuse, or
Right.
they have turned to their church or their religion because of the abuse, but they will tell them there is no infidelity, so you have to stay and pray. They could recommend couples counseling or something. Then we have the emotional abuse, where it's how somebody makes you feel, right? Gaslighting you, making you feel like you're crazy, making you feel like you're the problem. You're the reason we don't work. You're the reason I have these anger issues, or I'm abusive. And then victims start to think like, yeah, that's right. I am. Like, I'm not good enough. I am worthless. And in all those instances, I didn't physically touch you, right? And so these are all the different ways that I can
Wow.
abuse you
Sure.
without even having to put my hands on you. But we
Right.
automatically think, oh, you're being abused, so they must hit you. that's not the case. There's people that'll say they didn't hit me, but they hit the wall next to me, or they break things around me, but they didn't hit me. And I'm like, right, but what was the goal of
to put fear in you?
Exactly,
That's
instill the
what-
fear, intimidate you. And so it makes you think twice about wanting to reach out for help, or wanting to get out, or wanting to even tell somebody that this happened, right?
And when he tells you that, he says, okay, you say anything to anybody, you know what's going to happen to your
there's
family.
the threats.
And
The
like,
threats
oh,
are a
the
big
threats
one.
are-
Absolutely, that's a big one.
and coming up against the threats that they have,
Right.
and the fear of that. I know you guys must be fearful as well, because you know that the mentality of that person that is
Yes.
going to come after them, anyone that's helping them, or
Yes.
anyone wants you
Yes.
out of the picture as well.
Yes.
And so it's got to be scary.
Yes, it's. I think my first few years when working here, I always thought, what would I do if an abuser showed at the door, or somebody came looking for their family, and then it finally happened to me, and we had somebody come through the door saying, "I know you have my family at shelter or whatnot," right? All we can say is we can't confirm or deny if this person is with us. That's it. We
that's
cannot
it.
confirm or deny, and that we can't get them out of there. And if they don't leave our property, then we're entitled to call the police.
I was going to say, are you doing
Yes.
that through a plate glass window?
I wish. So see, like now, so we have two different locations. We have a location in the Woodlands and one in Conroe. And our Woodlands location is for our counseling department, more our advocacy department. And so that's where a lot of our clients come if they want support groups, if they want individual counseling. We used to be more out in the open. Now we are more in the building to where they have to go through a security guard. So now to go in, they have to talk to the security guard and then say if they have an appointment, who are they, what are they here, what are the matters here for?
Right.
And then our Conroe office, we don't have that, but our doors are always locked. Either you have a key or you need to buzz in and say what you're here for, so we can still
Right.
talk to you through the outside. We have cameras all around, so we've really tried to make it safer. Because not only for our clients, for our survivors, but for us too, because we want to
sure.
continue the work.
Good
And
grief.
I mean, we say, well, why don't you just leave, right? But what we see is that when even victims leave, they're most dangerous. The time that they leave, the danger has gone up. I mean, they are now being stalked, they're being harassed, right? They're being threatened. Many times abusers can show up at school, try to use kids against them. I mean, anything and everything to try to get that power and control back.
Right.
Because it's all about that power
Well,
and
and
control.
they're all embarrassed now, and their egos and all that
Yeah.
stuff, because you left and you went to seek help,
Yes.
and you're having to trying to get away from them. So
Absolutely.
they're going through who needs the most counseling.
Yes, yeah.
Is these guys. But and I guess now you said you had men that also
Yeah, they come to our
in
shelter.
there,
Mhm.
and this is because the women are abusive to them,
Yeah, absolutely. Either they're victims of domestic violence or sexual assault, either or.
or sexual assault
Or sexual abuse assault.
from
Yes.
from wives, girlfriends, or from
Any person that they're dating. So we get a variety of them.
Stories, I bet.
What we do see though is that there is underreporting when it comes to
sure.
men, and if they identify as LGBTQ. A lot of that is underreported.
Okay.
And I think it's the underreporting is because there's still a stigma around that. You
Yes.
know, especially like I remember when I did the advocacy on calls, when I was on call 24/7, I would respond to hospital calls if there was a sexual assault or there was domestic violence. And every time it was a call and it was a male, I mean, the first response when I would walk in, I would be their advocate and they would see me and they would say, I don't know why you're here. I don't want you here. Right. And I would like, okay, that's perfectly okay. But I'm still going to be here. Like, I'm very persistent. So I would say, that's okay. I am going to give you a break and I'll come back. Would you like some water? Would you like me to bring you a blanket? And I would try to kind of just,
have a little conversation.
yes,
with
because
them.
they deserve the same respect, the same belief, the same resources out there as anybody else who is a victim. And so I would treat them the same way, even though I was a female coming to that victim as a male, and maybe not them wanting to accept that they were a victim. But for me to help them and say, these are what we have for you, you know, you are, you know, we are here to help you in any way that we can. And many times they would not want to report, and I would say, that's okay. You don't want to report, you can still come and get counseling. You can
Yes.
still come into our shelter. We can still help you in any capacity that we can.
and help you be safe. And it's-
Absolutely, absolutely.
well, to have a safe haven like that
Yeah.
for women and for children. Do teenagers come to you without
Yes.
saying that the parents are being abusive and
Mm-hmm.
they come in, do you have to then contact the parents, and the parents do they have the right to take them out?
So
How do
we,
you-
from what I know, and I don't think this has changed, our shelter, we can allow teens to come in and stay with us for only 2 weeks. And then we have to kind of figure out who's going to be involved. CPS has to be involved and all that, every department, because they are underage.
Right.
And then that has to kind of be passed down to them, because what we can offer is that safe haven for that temporary time. And then we have to get involvement from other community agencies, so CPS and all of them, to see what is going on, like what is happening. Because, I mean, domestic violence, family violence, it could be, elder abuse, it could be sibling abuse, it could be the son, daughter abusing the parents, I mean, vice versa. So we see all kinds that can happen, and it's prevalent. It happens a lot, and sometimes it is underreported more than
during
we
the
think.
pandemic, was it? Did you see a big increase in this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because people were confined together.
Yes.
And that's probably didn't
I
work
think
a
our
lot.
hotline calls doubled.
They
doubled in 2020. They absolutely did. And it was harder for us because our shelter, we housed 75, but because of COVID restrictions, we had to cut that down to 30. I was thinking it was like 35. We could only house 35 people. So, I mean, day in and day out, people calling, do you have space? Do you have space? We do not. We do not. We do not. We do not.
Man.
And it was the hardest things.
Yeah.
I mean, the hardest thing, because one, it was harder for them to leave because everybody was at home. People were losing their jobs. They were being laid off. The abuse was getting much worse because there's no escape. There's no place for them to go. I mean, even for counseling, if they didn't come in person, even if we offered virtually, they still have to get in a place where they're by themselves to do the counseling. And it's just, all in all, it was hard. I mean, I would never, ever want to go back to a year like that, because also in 2020 is when we had the most deaths by somebody who was killed by an intimate partner. And so, I mean, every year there's a website called tcfv.org, Texas Council on Family Violence. Each year they release a report on how many Texans have lost their lives due to domestic violence. 2020 was the highest that we had seen, I want to say, in the past 5 years, with 284 Texans that lost their lives. 2021, we had 204. And so it's been going up. Each year it goes up. But 2020 was a significant one because there was so much more deaths than there has ever been before.
In covering all this data and
Yes.
statistics, have you seen where it went down some years, and then it came up?
So, well, I'm a big research person. I love to read stuff and whatnot.
Yes.
And so there was not, I didn't see a trend of where a year it was down, but what I did see is that usually the numbers go up after there's something something worldwide happened. So which hurricane was it? I want to say if it was Katrina, one of the big ones. They saw a rise spike up. Yeah, so then COVID, then the rise went up, and then there was another major hurricane, then there was another rise and up. So
I
after
guess what about the freeze, when the freeze came?
that one I didn't see, but now you got me thinking, so I'm gonna look into that.
Okay.
But there absolutely is a trend when there is a natural disaster or something like that big that happens, for example, like COVID, where there will be a spike in that.
I think that what you've seen, what you've been exposed to, and all that. When you were younger, when you were in school and all, did you start having a feeling like, I want to help? My friends are so messed up, and these relationships and all that stuff. I wish I could help them, because I think I could help them get through that and not not be hurt like this, because there's no reason to let this guy
absolutely
hurt you. This is what I try to tell my children, because you can't get through to them.
Correct.
Because they feel like whatever's happened bad is going to be forever in their mind. This is terrible. This is awful. And or when they fall in love, or when they whatever happens, I said, give it 2 weeks.
Right.
And you're going to be on to something
time.
else. And probably before the 2 weeks is over, you're going to be halfway through this. Correct. And it's going to be over. Because I hate when they have that feeling like, I'll never
it's like
get
a forever
over
feeling.
that.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. I'll never forget. And I go They said, "You're just being mean." I said, "No, I'm just being proud." I'm telling you, that's how we are. I mean, even advertisers or not advertisers, but the news will do something. When I worked at Channel 13,
Right.
that they would make a mistake.
Correct.
And they said, "Just nobody say anything else more about it. 2 weeks, it's all gone."
It's all gone.
And I started looking at the 2 weeks. That was really interesting.
Right.
The other thing in a newsroom is that they'd come in and announce full moon, and I would hear them say that, and I didn't understand what they were talking about. And they said, "In full moon, every time there's a full moon, people get crazy, and we start getting the
I've heard that too
calls, and
before,
things
yeah.
start going, you know." And I said, "Y'all, that's not even biblical. That's not right." And they go like,
Yeah,
"Cindy,
yeah.
I'm telling you, it's just we know what's going to happen."
Right.
I don't know what goes on at that time,
Right.
but they start getting calls, and
Yeah.
I was sitting in there that night, and I'm like, they would go, "That's what? Wait, no, we've got a murder on the." They started doing that.
Yeah.
I realized when you watch the news, the local news, mostly it's about everything that's gone bad.
Yes, everything that's gone bad, uh-huh.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of stuff that's gone on, but to think that the how the moon is doing is how we're going to be doing is very strange, because I just look at it and see it's so beautiful. It's so
We used to have a
full.
saying like that too when I was in our advocacy team. We'd say, "Oh, you guys, it's a full moon. Just if
Get
our
ready."
calls go up, that's." And then we knew, like in the back of our minds, we knew it wasn't. That's not what it was. But we just thought, like, it's gonna be, it's gonna be a full moon. We're gonna get calls to the hospital, like, for the rest of the night, and just be ready. We're not gonna get any sleep tonight. And so, but it was like a saying that we had, but. We
Well,
always hoped no calls.
Yes.
No calls,
But I guess it's how a person is built, and everybody's
Yeah.
different.
Yes.
And you're so happy when you find someone like you that has that capacity
Right.
to handle that. And I'm going to help these people,
Yeah.
and I'm going to see a lot of horrible things, and
Yes.
a lot of people are going to do a lot of horrible things. But it doesn't matter, because if I get one, then
Yeah.
that's one that can maybe break that cycle that's in that
Yes.
family,
Yes.
and that you go on. But I think that having people that give their hearts and everything
Absolutely.
to this kind of work is so amazing. So
Yes.
I just applaud you.
Thank
and
you.
I think that it's wonderful that it's here, and
Yeah.
and I love it's so great, because financial times are hard, really
Yes,
hard right
very.
now,
Yep.
and food and gas and all the things that we're struggling with. But I think that people know that I'm going to be taken care of. Do not feel like I'm going to sit here and my children are going to starve. There's some place I
correct,
can go.
yeah.
And when you do the food, do y'all have food drives, or how do you connect with
So
the
we
food
connect
bank?
with like the food bank. We get we connect with a lot of places. So like sometimes Walmart, Costco, Sam's, like if they have an abundance of something. I mean, sometimes there's stores that don't want like cans because they're banged up and beat, and so they'll give it up to
Yes.
us. So they have an overload of something, they'll give them to us. They'll do maybe a fair where they had a food drive, they had extra, and they'll come and drop them off to us. So it just kind of depends. I mean, there's volunteer groups like National Charity League. There's schools. There's Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. They'll get together, and for what they want to do is cook for the shelter. Or They want to pick a weekend, or they want to pick one of our holidays to give them food or buy or sponsor the food. So in any way that they can help, I mean, we are so thankful. I mean, we would not be able to do it without our community and our volunteers. I
Right.
mean, sometimes people think I'm only given these many hours of volunteer, or I only donated a bag or whatever. I mean, you have no idea of how much that makes a difference. I mean, I had a lady who came and she said, I only have these 3 cans of Similac. I don't have a lot, but my son, he's done. This is what I can give. I don't know what I can do. It's not a lot. And I was like, you have no idea. We just got a newborn into our shelter, and we have not been able to buy it, the milk. And so then it's little stuff like that we don't think of, that we think we have to do big stuff.
And you
for
don't think
them.
about the children at the women's
Right,
center, and
mhm.
like all the powdered
Yeah,
Similac
yeah.
and all that stuff
Yes.
that y'all Have y'all had a
Yes.
real hard time keeping that
Well,
in stock?
now
or-
we've been having a better outcome.
Okay.
But because they come in and we don't expect them to bring anything, we provide them the diapers, the wipes, the
Everything.
baby clothing, anything that we can. And if we don't have that on site, I don't know if you guys have ever shopped at our Something Special resale store. So it's off of Shenandoah next to Sam's Club. And a lot of people don't know that's our resale store. But we let our clients go and use vouchers and shop for free there to get clothing. Or if they are at a shelter, we will send one of our employees to go and get clothing for them to bring it back to them. Just
you
it's
know
all a
how-
cycle. We try to make it work in any way that we can.
Well,
Yeah.
that's extremely, empowering for them
Yeah.
to be able to go shop and
Yes,
do that and feel like
yes.
they're doing something
For themselves.
for
Mhm,
themselves.
mhm.
And although the help of the community has got to be impressive to them to know
Yes,
that
yeah.
they come in there and everything's free and you're there to help
Yes.
them and to get them through it. And then they turn around and go back into the same situation.
Mm-hmm.
But that won't, I agree with you. I think that there's going to be a time if they're not murdered in the meantime, but
Right,
that
right.
they will get through that.
Yes,
And they'll
yes.
realize, you know what, this is kind of stupid.
Yeah,
Because every time I keep thinking it's going to be the same,
Yeah,
different.
yeah.
And it's the same
I like to
thing.
call it like that aha moment, like that moment of like
Uh-huh.
you kind of something lights up and you're like, okay, maybe I need this to change or something was different this time. Or I always say when they come, even if they go back, they're going to get something out of it. That's just
Yeah.
my mentality. If they're going to come, even if they just came from one session, even if they just came and found out about our services, they are leaving with something that they didn't know of. Right. And so I feel like if they are consistently leaving and coming back, I will take you back every single time. Like, I know it will create that, like, oh, I've worked with you for so long and you went back, but I see it more of like, okay, what can we do different this time? What would I talk to you about this time that you can take back with you this next time? And if you decide to go back. And so I think you have to have that mentality,
Yeah.
right? You have to also know that you have to let them have those choices, because sometimes we want to tell a victim, you need to report it. You need to file a police report. You need to place a protective order. You need to go to the hospital. You need to do this. You need to do that. But you also have to check yourself and say, okay, these are the things that you would do,
Right.
not what they want to do.
That's
And
right.
so when you make them do that and you tell them that that's what they need to do, they still don't have control. They're not being empowered because you're telling them to do that. What it should sound like is you can file a police report. We can advocate for you as much as we can. We can provide the free counseling, the free shelter, the free support groups. You tell us what you want to do. And then they feel like they have a sense of power back. And so I think that's the ultimate goal, is letting them know that they need to be empowered to make that choice without nobody telling them what to do, because that's probably what they're getting already at home, of they don't have any control over what they can do, any power of what they can say. But if you're giving them that back little by little, then you're helping it, even if they do decide to go back.
When you went and applied
Yes.
to work with the Women's Center, how many minutes did it take them to realize that God sent you? That's
Oh,
who
you're
sent
so
me.
awesome.
That's-
Thank you.
Well, but they had to
it's
be.
a funny story because I graduated from Sam Houston State University in 2016. But before then, I wanted, like, in my mind, I was like, I'm going to be a police officer. Like, that's what I wanted to do, because I love talking to people. I love helping people. And so I was like, I think I'd be a great police officer. I majored in criminal justice, and I was like, that was my goal. And then my last year of college, I took a class with a professor who she taught classes on child abuse, family violence, crisis intervention, working with victims. Those were my favorite classes that year. And I was like,
Oh, that's great.
I don't know what I'm going to do now. So she then would bring guest speakers in, and her name is Kathy Latz. So Kathy Latz, you're one of my inspirations of why I started, but she was so passionate about her work. And then she worked with the Montgomery County Women's Center. And so she was my professor at that time, and she brought in somebody to speak and people to talk about victim services. She had us do projects. I mean, I fell in love with the work. And so then she talked about openings at Montgomery County Women's Center if everybody wanted to apply. And I was like, yes. And so I graduated December. I applied. I was not qualified. It said minimum something, this many years of experience. I was like, I have none of that, but I'm going to apply because I really want to do this.
Right.
And so I applied. I got the interview, and sure enough, I got the job, and ever since then I have not left. So I'm about to be 6 years with them in January. So
Well, I feel so bad for the police department because you would have been just wonderful.
no, and I now work alongside with law
police
enforcement
officers, yeah.
and DFPS, and they are amazing. I mean, our community is an amazing community. Montgomery County is.
Yes.
It is. It really is.
Our officers are.
Awesome. Yep.
We just
Yep.
had the Catfish Festival, and when my grandchildren were small, I took them, and my granddaughter had gone into a tent to look at something, and then
Right.
I was talking and came back. I couldn't find her, and I didn't know she was, and I was
The
panicked.
panic set in, yes.
And I grabbed the first officer I could. I said, I can't find my granddaughter, and they said, okay. And they get on and they start calling. They
Right.
shut that park down. You know how big the
Yes.
Catfish.
Yes.
They
yes.
shut down all the
They shut down a lot of
exits.
streets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they made that one call, and they shut everything down until
They
she was, and she had
How
gone.
old was she?
I
old
was
was she?
probably about 6 years old,
6
something
years
like
old,
that.
okay.
And so I felt so bad. I just didn't know that was going to happen that
yeah,
fast, and
yeah.
what they did. And we got her back, and I said, okay, I found her. I'm so sorry. And I felt so bad.
yes.
I'm sorry. And I never told her mother this, so probably I hope her
She'll
mom's
be
not,
hearing this.
her mom's not listening.
Surprise!
Great, Grandma. Great. But that it was just amazing, and it gave me such
Right.
confidence in knowing that that's how they've got everything
respond,
done. They've got the
yes,
whole plan.
yes.
If somebody is missing, or if there's a problem, so I appreciate them. But
Yeah.
I mean, what you have done is just amazing, and what a story!
you.
I'm so happy for the kids to get to hear you.
Yeah.
And that
and it's not just myself. I have a team who they go out with me, and then Lady Lopez and Henley McCann, and they are wonderful girls. I mean, we're a team of 3, and we try to get into as many schools, as many community events, try to really promote on what this is and talk about it, but in a way that's conversational and it's approachable, just because if you just walk in and say, hey, you want to know what domestic violence is? Just people are like, what are you doing? Right. It's more like, hey, this is not something that is taboo. Let's talk about it. What is this? How do you see this? What would you do? Scenarios, and just us and our team, and backed up by our whole agency. I mean, we could not do it without them, and I think that's why I'm so passionate about the job. I love coming to work every day. I mean,
you should. You've got so rewarding. That's,
thank you. Yeah,
we got 5 minutes left. I can't believe this.
it flew by.
I know it. That's just amazing, and I'm just so honored that you're here, and that.
No, thank you
So,
for having us. Yeah.
Go back and hug all the staff for me,
Yeah,
and
thank you, thank
Jessica
you.
especially.
Yes.
and make sure. But so thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And now I got to tell people next week. This is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We do this live, and so next week we've got a really interesting week set up for you guys. The first Tuesday is going to be Dare McLeod, and she is from Conroe, and she's been on a Nickelodeon series. Okay. She's on an Apple TV Plus series right now called Ghost Riders, and she's doing a movie, and she is just like,
she's up
and
and
she
at 'em,
was
yeah.
on at the Crichton Theater a long time, and she's just still a little kid. She's under 18. But she's going to be on, and we're going to talk about her new series and things that are going on with her, and just, wow, we have a movie star in the, in the presence of us. So it's great. So she'll be on, and then Wednesday, I don't even know how to describe Wednesday. It's going to be Dennis O'Connor. And Dennis is just a rare breed. He's a great guy, and he has had so many experiences. But his wife that he was married to, his ex-wife, was a medium, and she talked to people that have passed. I don't want to say dead people all the time, but she talked to people that have passed, and she was a clairvoyant where she knew things that were going to happen and all. And he has all these stories. He said, I don't believe any of that other stuff that's on TV. I don't believe any of that. But I got to see it. I got to see it live, and I know it happened. So he started writing it on his Facebook, and I started reading it, and I called him. I said, Dennis, you've got to come on my show and talk about this. And it's near Halloween, and he goes, yeah, but I'm not scary. This isn't scary. This is like real. So I said, but
Some
it's just
people get
perfect
spooked.
time. Yeah, because people, I don't want you to know what I'm thinking or what. But he has some stories that are very strange. And then Thursday, I have. We'll bring it back to reality and some really nice things. I have a friend of mine that used to do a lot of public speaking, and she did women's groups and all that, and went around. And her name's Gail Matthews, and she is going to come talk about her past things. I love putting the spotlight on women,
Yes.
and women helping women and all
Awesome.
that. So.
Yep. It's all about empowering each other.
And we're trying to get
Amen
that Eve thing out of the deal. But and we can change those men. No, we could do a whole deal on that. About
This could be 2 other shows.
Yes,
Yes.
we'll come back. You'll have to come back because
I'd love to. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
it's fun, and then bring some of your team with you.
Yes, and I'm sure they'd love to come. Yeah,
and tell stories.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right, guys. Well, listen. First responders, we love you. We love you, and it's what's great is God loves you even more. And we just want you to be safe. And listen, go out and enjoy this weather. This
It's
weather has been
wonderful. Yes.
and you know it's going to go away. So
I
hurry.
know. It's like we got to
Enjoy.
take what we get.
Call somebody you love. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.